Welcome back. All right. So now that we had a very basic fundamental introduction to the Supabase platform, how to use it, how to interact with the home dashboard, to create and configure a new project, and we went over the steps on how to connect through PSQL, let's next take a look on how we would interact with Supabase in the context of a very basic Flask application. This application will be similar to what we have been working on so far, and it shouldn't be anything completely out of the blue and mostly review. So let's take a look at our very basic Flask application first. And all of its glory, we have one user model, which means we'll have a grand total of one, yes, one table in our database called users. Now, in our application, a user can sign up, can then log in, and then the data will be inserted into the user's table. And after that, a user will interact with the app. Once a user successfully signs up and logs in, they can navigate to the homepage. And at the homepage, the application will reach out to an external API called Spoonacular. It will then query some random recipes. The Flask application will process that request. We'll feed it to a Jinja template, and we'll display a bunch of random recipes for the user. Great. I think it's revolutionary. I don't know about you, $1 billion idea. Now, since we are saving new user data, we will need a very simple database with just one model and one table, but nevertheless we will need a database. So let's take a look at our database settings, and we have a fallback database URL, which will be the Foodie app. My settings right now are taken out and are within the env file. Remember, anything that you don't want the world to see should be within your env file. So connection strings, API keys, passwords, definitely, but for learning purposes, let's take a peek and let's see what's in here. So this is the secret key for the app, and this is the database URL local, PostgreSQL. Postgres is my default username. Password is my password. Yes, it is 127.0.0.1 localhost 5432 default port, and the database name will be Foodie app. And this is my Spoonacular API key, which Spoonacular needs to process my request and give me back the recipe data. So we are pretty much set up to run the application, except we will need to create this Foodie app database before we run the app, so that our model builds, our schema builds, and we have that table, and then we can sign up and use the app. So let's jump in here. Now I will assume that we remember how to set up a virtual environment and install all of our dependencies from the requirements.txt. We are within the application, and we will create the Foodie app database. Okay, good. And let's go in there. And as a sanity check, let's make sure it's empty. Of course it is, because we didn't really do anything to it yet. It's completely empty. So in the second tab, let's run the application. I'll add a debug flag just for good purposes in case something goes wrong. And now we are running on localhost, both the application and the database. Let's peek in here. This is our Supabase tab, but this is our localhost 5000. Let's rerun, and we have our application running again on localhost. Sign up. We will use an amazing username, an amazing mail, and my password will be password. We will sign up, And now we have recipes, random recipes generating. Great, our application is working. Let's go back to our locally hosted database and let's list our tables. We have that. Let's select all from users. Oops. And I am here. I created a user and I created a new entry. It's now in our locally hosted database. All is good. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to deploy this app on a deployment platform such as Render. But first, what we need to do is set up this app to work with a hosted database on Supabase in this case. So let's flip back to Supabase. Let's create a new project. So we'll create a new project under the same organization and we will name it Foodie App. Remember, this is going to be a password and it needs a strong password. I will just generate a password for now. This is, once again, review, password for this database. This database only. So the previous database that we created in testing Supabase project has a different password. This database will have a brand new password. So I'll generate it and it's hidden. We can use it later, and East Coast Virginia, whatever that works, we'll create a new project. Again, this will take a little bit, take a few minutes, so we will come back to that once it's ready. And once it's ready, we will finish connecting our Flask app to our database hosted on Supabase. I'll see you then.